Oh, welcome to lesson number 12. In this lesson, I want to discuss some characteristics of the facial feature. So let's start with a what I like to call the tofu head, which means it's a flavorless, undifferentiated form that will become flavored later on as I put the specific features, physical characteristics of an individual over it. So this is just the structure, okay? So let's block in the head, check out if the proportions are right. So the height should be a little bit bigger than the depth, right? The base of the skull is at the same level as the base of the nose, and from the base of the nose to the chin I have 1/3 of the total height of the head. At the upper third here, at the upper third here, I have the brow ridge, and that's where the face begins. The face goes from the brow ridge to the chin. And now I have this structure, this undifferentiated form that I'm going to work on. The neck, and now we start putting in specific form. So let's find the middle of the height, because that's where I'm going to have to position the eyes, the irises, just above the line of the middle, more or less. The nasion, or the beginning of the nose, it's a little bit below the top of the brow ridge, a little bit above the irises here, right? That's where the nose will begin. So that's the brow ridge. Sorry, that's the nasion, the beginning of the nose. That's the nose. And the lips are going to be, the opening of the mouth actually is going to be not halfway between the base of the nose and the chin, not halfway, but a little bit higher, meaning this portion in here is going to be slightly smaller than this portion in here, right? Okay, so now let's start by seeing a few characteristics of gender, so sex, sexual difference. So the difference between male and female in bumps of the head, in starting with the forehead. So women tend to have the forehead straighter, down straighter like this. See that? At the straighter angle like this. Men. So let's draw an angle like this, right? So the forms of women tend to be rounder and smoother in the head. In men, when I get to the upper portion of the forehead is going to be similar, right, to women. But as I move down toward the brow ridge in men tend to be more developed, sticking out a little bit, creating the impression of a slopier angle, right? So in men, this angle in here tend to be a little bit more pronounced like this, rather than in women, they tend to be a little bit straighter. In the past, starting, I guess, about around 1800, this angle, the frontal angle, was charged with values that were moral or developmental, for example. So meaning the more developed you were, the straighter this angle was. But as if this angle is more pronounced, it means that you are not evolved as much as other races. Therefore, that would justify the enslavement or mistreatment of ethnic groups and races that had this angle different or slopier, right, from the colonizer, let's say. So now we don't believe that anymore, luckily. But this is a good example of something that is purely biological and has no meaning whatsoever in terms of morality or evolution, but it's something that it's a biological parameter that's being charged with cultural construct that really don't make any sense anymore, luckily. So now here I have this point in here, right, is the nasion, and from here down I develop the nose. Now the nose from straight, I want to start breaking it down in, just like two little angles, more or less. At the apex of this angle in here is where I have the junction between the nasal bone, right, and the cartilage. So the angle at the base of the nose here can be horizontal, can be sloping upward, sloping downward, right? So you could have a nose that goes down this way, right? That the nostril is going to be here, right? Here, the nostril, the wing. So this angle in here will go downward, or it could be going upward. Whatever is the case, you want to notice these specific physiognomic characteristics based on angles. It's going to help you greatly to reduce the complication, the complexity of the facial characteristic. So now below here, now brow ridge, right here, eyes, and now here, let's make it a little bit sloping upward like this, right? The wings of the nose, the nostrils, and now I want to block in the lips. So I've seen before the upper lip tend to be slightly smaller than the lower lip, right? Or anyway, the space between here and here tends to be smaller than the space between here and here, right? So the chin. No, I don't like it. Let's move this back a little bit. There you go. Right. So okay. So now in a young person, the under chin or submentalis area, submentalis region, the submentalis region, will tend to be very flat. Very flat like that. So as we age, though, what happens is that this portion in here, the under chin, right, will come down like this. So this could be something that is given by various factors, not just gravity and aging, alas, poor Yorick, right? But here, right, could be also body fat, right? So this the margin of the jawline is going to be softened as this forming here fills with fat, and also as we age, the lips tend to kind of be pulled down by the gravity, right? So instead of being up like this space short, this space in here now tend to be a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, and the lips kind of curl in a little bit, and the lips are going to be less full, right? And maybe there's an hormonal component in that, I'm not sure. And so all this spacing here now is going to result to be a little bit bigger and rounded, right? Like that. The nose maybe also can come down a little bit, but not necessarily, right? So see how by just positioning a couple of lines in the right place, you can determine, age, can determine gender, sex, and you can rely more on knowing, or better, your observation will be more thorough because you know these things, you notice them better, and you can appreciate them better, right? So let's look at more aspects of the skull. So the brow ridge tend to be more pronounced in men than in women, right? Creating some sort of change of angle here. And I don't really know why. Maybe it's hormonal, but that's what it is, and we just have to accept that, right? So, but other bumps like the mastoid process, which are below the base of the skull here behind the ear, and the occipital protuberance in here, tend to be more pronounced in men than in women because, and I think this is related to the fact that men tend to have more a bigger muscle. So what happens is the bigger the muscle, the more surface you have to have on the bone for this muscle to hold on to grab onto, right? So not always the case that men have bigger muscle, but tendentially that's how these bumps, the occipital protuberance or the mastoid process, etc., tend to be more pronounced, more developed in male. The mastoid process is just behind the ear, right? If you push with your finger on your earlobe, you're gonna feel under a volume. That's the mastoid process. So so that's and then from the corner of the brow ridge of the eyebrow here, I'm gonna find all the specific planes of the face, but this is a very quick, very simple rendering of the head with the essential changes or specific characteristics that come with age or with gender and sex. So try maybe copying your relatives and rendering them with simple, very basic outlines like this, emphasizing these aspects that I discussed with you now. Another thing that you want to pay attention is the wrinkles of the face. As again, as we age, the wrinkles will tend to be more pronounced, and sometimes the wrinkles are, some of the wrinkles are given by, again, the gravity pulling, etc., but also by the typical facial expression that we have. So let's say the depressed people that are chronically depressed tend to have specific wrinkles in the face that maybe are connected with the depression, frowning, etc. Or happy people tend to have smiley wrinkles, or and so on. So pay attention also to the wrinkles, how they develop, how they're positioned, and synthesize them with just a couple of lines. I wanted to also tell you that on July 8 at 7, from 7 to 9 p.m., I'm going to have a demo and book signing at Strand Bookstore in New York City. So I'm going to have a model. I'm going to be giving a demo. I'll be drawing and showing you where all the various specific muscles, etc., are in the model. And then after that, we're going to have a quick book signing event. Okay. I'll see you there maybe, or I'll see you next week with the next video.